even though we're giving you 30 minutes straight, commercial-free sports talk, local sports talk, we even got you in a little earlier. It's not even 11 yet. That's how much we care about you, Sacramento. And we are joined, of course, the same way we are every Tuesday at 11 by third base coach for the Athletics, Eric Martins. Coach, thanks for joining us.
You got it. Happy to be here.
Let's start here, Coach. Nick Kurtz. I know we've talked about him time and time again, but he just keeps on stacking on those accolades. AL Player of the Month for the month of July. Just how excited is the organization? I won't name names, but I was talking about some other organizations and just how they've gone so long without just having a true stud, right? Or showing that stud potential early. How exciting is it to have somebody like him? And obviously we talked about Jacob Wilson, but how exciting is it to have a guy like Nick Kurtz in the organization with so much team control and just beyond that, just the potential that he has?
It's super exciting. I mean, that's what we're trying to build here, right? And, we got the pieces in place, and Nick Kurtz obviously is a big part of it. You've seen what Jacob Wilson's done. You've seen what, Rooker's done. You've seen what Law's done. You've seen what Soderstrom's doing now. So, you're starting to put these pieces together, and you're starting to really get excited what the future holds for us.
Yeah, with that being said, Coach, Mason Miller did get dealt. I know we talked about it here on this program, and it kind of went back and forth. And I know a lot of A's fans were upset about it, thinking maybe the timelines weren't as spread apart as maybe some others felt. But you got a bit of a haul with the shortstop and a couple other pitchers you got in return. Talk to us about that process when you found out about Mason and how it worked with the team and their thoughts on everything and how the organization is moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it a lot, right? It was one of those things where, look, you're not just going to trade him to trade him. If we're going to trade him, we're going to have to get what we want, and there's no desire or need to have to trade him unless we get what we want. So I think the organization and us as a whole feel really good about what we got. We got the number 3 prospect in all of baseball, and De Vries, a shortstop who's going to be a superstar, who's going to be an all-star. So, I mean, if you're able to acquire talent like that, we also got their number 3 prospect and a couple of pitchers and one that's on our roster now. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you got to be excited about the talent that you got back in return for Mason. Our trades in the past have been okay, but this one is pretty exciting. I know that everybody's happy about what we got in return. It's sad to see Mason and JP leave. It's unfortunate that we weren't in a different state of the organization where we were trying to acquire players to add to our roster, but it's what happens. You know what I mean? So when you have an opportunity to make the future even brighter, then you do it. And we got a pretty good haul for Mason and JP.
I would agree with that. Talking to Coach Eric Martins, third base coach for the Athletics. Another name that was kind of thrown around, Coach, and I think we had even talked about the vets in this regard. Miguel Andujar, he had started to heat up at the plate and was really good for you guys early in the season. Not to say that anything is easier than others, but talk about just what he brought to the team and how maybe it was more understood that somebody in his position could get moved, even if it doesn't make it any easier.
Yeah, it was tough. Me and I had a really good relationship, especially, transitioning him back into the third base spot. But even before, when he was strictly an outfielder, playing a little bit first base here, he brings a lot of energy. He's a baseball player. He loves the game. He loves to play. He doesn't care what position you put him in. He's got a great personality. Guys loved him. And it's hard when you lose guys like that. I mean, the same goes to be said about Mason and JP, who were outstanding in the clubhouse. But, Miggy for me that was a different one. And he was starting to heat up. He's starting to get more comfortable at third. And for me as a coach, I'm happy to see him flourish at a position where, the Yankees or other organizations thought he couldn't play anymore. And he actually played really well for us. So for me as a coach, it brings a little tear to my eye having seen him leave and go to an organization, but he has an opportunity to go play somewhere else and make a playoff push. So I'm happy for him. I'm happy for the individual. I'll miss him as a person. But it's one of those things we got to prospect and return, and it's kind of in the position we're at right now. Like I said, if things are different, he's an important part of our lineup, an important part of this team moving forward.
Yeah, without a doubt. Talking to Coach Eric Martins, third base coach for the Athletics. Just as we're having this conversation, Coach, is there a feeling of maybe a weight being lifted, right? Whether you're buyers, I guess if you're a buyer, the weight isn't lifted because now you hope that whoever you bought is going to produce for you. But being in more of the selling position, is there more of a weight lifted, even though you did move on from Mason and Miguel Andujar and some guys that you really liked having in the organization? But is there a weight lifted to now, hey, we know where we're at. We're kind of playing spoiler, but we can focus in on who we have, go into the next season with some good momentum, and just let the chips fall where they may.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the first time we've been in this position. You know what I mean? So I feel like the last few years we have some good players that other teams have wanted to acquire. We weren't sure what we were going to do. That's all on the front office. So you always get that feeling around this time of the year anyway. So we still got a lot to play for the rest of the season, and on a good note, which we have been playing pretty good, and continue the tradition and the trend of playing better baseball and continuing to get better as a team, and just push the needle in the right direction for the next couple of years.
Obviously, we've discussed the pitching before and how that just look that's the game, man. You got to be able to pitch the baseball if you want to compete. As far as the position players are concerned, is there a position going into the rest of this season? We were joking about the Giants and how they're essentially having open tryouts in right field. Is there a position on the A's that you maybe feel like you're trying to solidify before this season ends, heading into next season? Or does everything seem, I know we moved on from Miguel and Duhar, but is there a position out there that the organization is hoping to maybe lock up and feel a little bit better about heading into the end of this season and the next season, or do you feel pretty solid all around?
I think we feel pretty solid all around. We have some injuries, so Muncie's hurt right now. Obviously, Wilson's hurt right now, so we're kind of filling in those positions. Hernandez has come up and done a great job. Gio's a vet at third base. You got Urias who could move around a little bit. Schumann, who's the ultimate utility guy. So I think we feel pretty good about our position player depth. I mean, you're never in a position where you don't want to acquire extra depth, or if you can
Right.
get an impact bat somewhere else, maybe free agency. So as far as positions, I'm not really sure where there's a need. I mean, we're pretty, got Denzel who's hurt right now, so we're missing him in center field, which would slide Law back over to right, and then left field we kind of have a platoon situation. So it looks pretty good as far as position player wise. And once we get a few of these players off the injury list, then it'd be fun to see what the last month of the season would look like.
Gonna end it with, I guess, kind of a funny question when it comes to just the mental part of the game, Coach. Do you see, or have you in the past, because you talked about being in this position before, do you see a difference in players at the plates and maybe even on the mound once you're in the spoiler role and you kind of know what you're playing for? Do you see a difference in the shoulders, maybe relaxing a little bit? And if you do, how do you get that to translate to the beginning of the season and just understanding, hey, the pressure is still on here? I'm just thinking, well, once you're not playing, obviously not playing for fun, but being a spoiler is a little bit different than all these teams that went out and they bought, and the Yankees, they got a bunch of pitchers. They got one from the Giants, and it hasn't really worked out for them since. There is a level of pressure that the buyers have that the sellers don't have.
No, you're right. I mean, it's unfortunate that we're in this position now, but you got to find different ways to motivate you to continue to play the game. You know what I mean? If it's playing spoiler, then be it. You know what I mean? But we put ourselves in this position in the last couple of years of playing bad baseball in May, and the last two seasons. Like I said a couple times before, if we cut that 20 game skid that we had early in half, this would be a different story. So for us, it's these guys got to continue to go out and play the game. Nothing's guaranteed for them. You know what I mean? These guys are still playing for their jobs. They're still playing for their livelihood. And if you're in a position to be able to play spoiler, then that if that's got to give you extra motivation, then sure, not let's do it. We were able to beat Seattle a couple times. We swept Houston, so it gives you that extra motivation to continue to let the division know that, hey, just because we're out of it this year doesn't mean we're still not coming for you guys when we play you. So I think that's the message that's being sent to these teams in the division, saying, "Look, just because we had a bad month and we're not in it right now, we're still a team to be reckoned with in the
Yeah.
future." So,
Coach Eric Martins, always a pleasure. I know you're on the East Coast right now, right?
yeah,
Is it
DC, and then we go to Baltimore after this.
There you go. Well, when you go to Baltimore, I know they got the Old Bay out there, and you can get a
Uh,
crab sandwich or something like that. So,
yeah, looking forward to it.
there you go. Enjoy yourself out there, Coach, and hopefully you come back to Sacramento with some W's as well. So we appreciate you taking the time as always, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, sounds good. Tech two.